What's up, Diablo 4 Barbarians? So let's talk about Season 5 and why Barbarian players are saying they're going to quit the game. You guys can see over here this one comment on a video I recently dropped talking about the most recent updates for Season 5 going in. It says, as a Barb, I don't need a second invitation to skip Season 5. We enjoyed Season 4. Let the Sorks and the Druids have fun. This time I am out. You guys can see another player that says, well, Barbs, there we go. Dead. Okay, Season 5 equals skip. First time I played a Barb, super fun. Season 5 will take... But Season 5 will take a nice big dump on that, thanks. And then you can see this player over here says, definitely skipping the season, all the crybabies got what they wanted, have fun playing with 40 to 60% less of the player base. And you know what I find crazy with this, is he's probably not even that far off. There are so many Barb players in Season 4 because it's just one of the best classes in the game. Barb has been really strong since the start of the game, and what's crazy is they always get nerfed, but somehow they still manage to come up on top. You can see this person says, garbage update, season hard pass, looks I'm going to uninstall. So I get it. A lot of people are pretty upset about the most recent changes. I want to go over the changes and why players are so mad and why some Barbarians are saying they're going to quit the game. So it comes down to the key passives going into Season 5. Now, there's no official Blizzard posts on this, but what this was a secret Diablo meeting that we got clearance from Blizzard that we could talk about, and I showed you guys all of the buffs and nerfs that were coming in, and now there's like another post by Wildhead that has like some other numbers here. So it comes down to the key passives for Barbarian. They're just getting absolutely destroyed. You can see unconstrained, the damage got reduced from 100 to 35. Walking Arsenal, for whatever reason, no one plays this stuff, so no one's really complaining about this because we don't play it anyways, but I guess if you nerf the top things, well, they're just going to move to the other thing, and then this is getting nerfed, and then Unbridled Rage getting a nerf from 100 to 45. Pretty massive numbers. And then we're also looking at Gushing Wounds taking a nerf, and you can see over here, it used to give you a huge amount of damage, and it'd be an X multiplier, but now it's being changed to a additive, which is terrible. So it's a huge, massive nerf for the Barbarians. This is the main thing that I think players are really mad about, and let's go ahead and check out some numbers because there's another awesome Barbarian player. Shoutouts to Rob over here, another Diablo partner. But he did the math on a lot of the stuff. And the thing that I think most people were playing, as far as I'm aware, was like the Whirlwind Barb. You guys are seeing gameplay. This is Season 5 PTR, and it was still shredding content. But with the update, how much of a nerf is it, right? So let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say because I trust his math.
That much vulnerable anymore with Hemorrhage. So the final damage loss is going to be somewhere in divided by 15. So you're going to lose more than a 0 in damage.
That is absolutely wild. Like to hear that. Like I've played a lot of video games across, tons of action RPGs, and sometimes things get nerfed by like, 10%, 20, even 30, or even cutting it in half, right? But dividing your damage by 15, I think that might be a little excessive, but it might be for other reasons. Now, the reason why I say that is because as much as, I want to say that, hopefully things will be getting fixed later, Barbarian was really, really strong. And I've never said to, like, nerf anything in terms of, like, giving feedback when I get to talk to Blizzard and have them kind of hear what I have to say is about, like, some sort of balance for stuff. I genuinely, unless something's really, really, really broken and literally, like, crashes the game because of, like, ball lightning, too many, attacks per second, unless it crashes the game, my philosophy is always to suggest them to buff the weaker skills or other things because you only make players mad and you only make players say, I'm going to be quitting the game, dead class. And I think that it's much better to buff some of the stuff that is weaker to kind of make them a little bit more exciting to play so you incentivize players to maybe move to another thing versus making players upset. That's kind of my philosophy. And while no Diablo partner has the ability to actually say, okay, I want this buffed, and Blizzard 100% does this. It's just kind of some suggestions. So I would say don't really blame the Diablo partners because, there have been players that said, Barbarian is way OP, and that's why the other person commented and said the crybabies got what they wanted. And I've always felt like I was always just, guys, play Barbarian. It's OP. And, sometimes it's good to try another class going into the next season. I'm really suggesting you guys to play Rogue. Rogue is, like, on top of everything in terms of the amount of builds that you get. But I want to say that there is still light at the end of this tunnel for players that are interested in maybe quitting, the game or just like, okay, Barbarian's my favorite class. It's getting nerfed. Is it, over for the Barbarians. And I don't think that Barbarian class is actually dead. And I'll explain why. So in this meeting that we had that I can now talk about, where it was talking about all the nerfs and stuff, they didn't actually reveal their full hand in terms of everything. They showed us a few different things, and I mentioned the nerfs. But keep in mind, guys, the uniques are getting reworked in Season 5, and we didn't get to see all of them. Now, we've had some other things, and I did mention some of the stuff that we actually had, some newer buffs, and I was telling you guys, these are, like, terrible. Like, 100,000 steps is getting a buff for additional movement speed on some sort of condition. Like, I still don't want to play this. It just doesn't, like, you can give me 1,000% movement speed, but in the game's cap, it's already, like, an additional 100%, so you get 200% movement speed, and then that's it. Unless it breaks that cap, there's really no point to having, way more movement speed on some pair of boots as, like, a buff. Plus, strangely enough, it's giving dexterity, and then on top of that, you can see, like, it's supposed to be for walking arsenal, which, strangely enough, is also getting nerfed in the next season. But they haven't revealed their full hand yet, and there's also, like, a buff to battle trance, but I even mentioned when I got, like, that news from Blizzard, I was like, this is still pretty bad, no point of really playing this. But there are some things that have been getting some buffs, like Gore's Devastating Grips, and I actually kind of want to talk more about the Barbarian class in general. It's actually a really good point that Rob brought up when he was talking about the class, is that, like, our core skills suck in the game. Like, core skills are supposed to be, like, how we make our builds, but because the core skills, with the exception of Hoda, well, that was really the only thing that we were using for actual damage. The rest of the stuff doesn't really do damage. Like, even though Gore's Devastating Grips is for Whirlwind, the tornadoes are essentially what gives us the damage. So you can give us plus 10 to Whirlwind, and Whirlwind still sucks because it just doesn't have the multipliers and stuff that it needs to actually be very good. And I think that that's something that maybe they can look at, as I don't know if Gore's Devastating Grips is going to be getting good. But what I've noticed with the trend in terms of the design, and this was something that is in Blizzard's design philosophy for their pillars of the game that was actually posted at the Blizzard HQ, was that they wanted to shift the meta. And so one of the things that hasn't ever been meta really was upheaval. So the reason why I'm trying to give you guys some knowledge in terms of the way the game is designed is because we could still be looking at potentially some cool Barbarian builds. One thing that has never been really good is a dot Barbarian with specifically this burn damage. We've also had Bleed, and maybe their goal is to get us away from playing Bleed and now running Ignite. If you've noticed a trend with some of the newer items like Ragnos, we're getting some fire damage with that. So perhaps we can actually increase our damage even further with maybe some really cool buffs to the Hellhammer. So that could be an area that we can get some cool stuff with. And I'm also thinking that we may see a buff to the Overpower Barbarian, as there was this new item that would let your Death Blow, as well as it's another Barb skill in the same department that had like another cooldown. Was it some sort of a bleed? Let me... Rupture, because we're also getting a boost to the Wonton Rupture. So the Wonton Rupture with Death Blow and Rupture, these could be something to kind of take a consideration in looking at. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of us, myself included, was talking about how unfortunately, these were just kind of underpowered. There's some sort of new unique that lets these have no cooldown, and instead how they work is they spend your resources instead of having a cooldown, which, again, since it was really weak, these could be receiving some buffs. Another really good overall generic-like boost to the Barbarian could be the Ramelandi's Magnum Opus. This is a really good item that could be getting buffed too. They're actually supposed to rework a lot of the uniques, and we haven't seen everything that is getting buffed. So it's kind of weird because I would rather them show us the whole hand, because when they reveal half of the uniques or a bunch of the uniques and they share them with us and then they say everything's getting nerfed, it's kind of going back to the same philosophy that I believe Rod Ferguson was talking about, that were like they would release the medicine but didn't give us enough sugar. And what they meant by that is that they're showing off a bunch of the nerfs but not showing all the buffs at the same time. And the problem with that is that you have a lot of player bases that get upset because they're like, what the heck's going on with my class? It's gone, it's nerfed, it's unplayable. But then you follow it up with like maybe some other broken unintended build, which then everyone's happy about, like the Victimized Rogue, that like Rogue was going to be one of the worst classes in Season 4, but then people figured out and Daros is doing some crazy double dipping with Retribution, and then you also have like the Victimized Rogue that was super OP, and now it's like the new cool thing, and then it's getting nerfed in the next season. So sometimes these things kind of just slip by, and there's a brand new build that is something OP, but there could be some other buffs to that. I mean, the Butcher's Cleaver, I mean, no one uses this, although this is actually a pretty decent item for PvP. And then we have things that are kind of in a weird spot, like the Ring of the Red Fuhrer, where you get this extra like bonus in terms of crit, but then you also buff the crit that the Hammer of the Ancients got, so then this would become like even worse. But there could be some other buffs, like for example, Twin Strikes is kind of designed in a very weird spot because it gives you ranks to double swing, but double swing doesn't even do the damage. What does the damage is all the little dust tornadoes. So hopefully they can look at the feedback that we have given them and kind of understand maybe the way that the uniques should be designed. Like for example, Windforce made Barrage shoot the target further back, which is like in philosophy, yes, that's how Whirlwind or that's how Windforce should work, because it should push things back, because that's in the original design of Diablo 1. However, now they're making it so that you just get the damage, it doesn't knock them back, which is a good thing because it works with Barrage, but Barrage is like a shotgun, you need to get close to it, so pushing them away is kind of defeating the purpose of the item. It's kind of like Twin Strikes. There's a lot of items in the unique category where I feel like they're not really designed with the in mind with like the way it should play. And what I mean by that is, again, with Twin Strikes, excellent example. Why would I want to lose out on, let's say, my crit? Because that's normally what you would want on your gloves. But it gives you ranks to double swing, but double swing doesn't deal the damage. Now, the unique effect of after using it, you get more, it will hit 2 additional times, so you get more of the little, like, dust tornadoes that shoot out, or the dust devils, and then therefore you're getting more damage. So it should be more focused in on generating more versus ranks to double swing. So there could be some other things that can emerge out of this. My only, suggestion for, what's currently added in is, again, release all of the patch notes at once, so we don't have this area where just the players are upset. But also I would maybe look at Upheaval for potentially a thing to look forward to. But if nothing really gets changed, is Barbarian completely dead as a class? I would still say that the class is still going to function, but it doesn't make any players that are Barbarian mains to get really excited about going to the next season, and I'm hoping that they can kind of look at that for feedback and kind of understand, okay, if I'm a Barb player, and even though my class was really strong, and it's still going to be really strong, even though it's taking massive numerical nerfs, why would I want to play it? And I totally get that. That's why I always say, just buff the things that weren't really good. Like, they could have looked at this and said, okay, well, no one's really playing Upheaval. Let's just give a lot of buffs to Upheaval instead of nerfing everything, because even if you wanted to play Upheaval, right, and you were looking at all of these nerfs, you wouldn't really get as excited. So that's at least my feedback, and I wanted to go ahead and shed some light and kind of my thoughts on the subject matter. So I would say, I'm not going to assign Barbarian as a class where, I think it's going to be terrible unless I see the final notes, because if not, I really suggest you guys that are Barb players, try out Rogue. Rogue is going to be excellent for the next season, as we know right now, and we still don't even have the revealed buffed pen shot, which I'm actually really excited about. I'll be dropping a guide very soon on that. But again, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. We'll wait and see what they decide to actually buff here, because maybe there's going to be some crazy buff to Upheaval, and then all these, nerfs literally don't matter, because when you take an item or a unique and just give it some crazy stats, who knows? Anyways, that's my thoughts on it. I'd love to know your thoughts down below. How excited are you to play Barbarian? Maybe after understanding kind of, my philosophy with, what could come out. Are you guys more excited to play? Or what class do you actually, plan to play if you are a Barbarian main? I play all the classes on the channel here, and so for me, I'm still going Rogue. I've been hyping up that class, but anyways, if you're new here, subscribe, turn the bell so you don't miss out on another update, because we're going to be getting another update very, very soon regarding all the classes, which will also include Barbarian. I'll let you guys know if anything changes, but take care. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.